Welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. Today, we are joined by Ofer Lidsky. Hopefully I said that name right. Probably butchered it. I apologize. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Matthew. It's my pleasure being a guest on your podcast.
Yes, sir. I brought you on here because you have now spent years in software development, cybersecurity, and you made that pivot from there to neuroscience. Where you're now the founder and the CEO of Excellent Brain, where you help people to use neurofeedback with ADHD and focus to help to retrain the brain. Currently, you have a program called Path to Power. You help people to improve their mindset. So quite a bit of things here to go over and focus on. But first, take us back. Where did all this start for you personally in your career and in your life for you?
Sure. So it goes way back. Actually, it started when I was about 7 years old, and I got my first computer, and I started learning programming. And by the age of 12, I got my first job in a computer company. And by the age of 16, I was a freelance computer programmer for different companies. And I really like to study science and technology since I was a kid. I've been learning all my life. So I have a technical background. And from that, I can say that I was like a born entrepreneur. So when I was 20, I established my first company. And since then, I've been down the road doing a lot of stuff with technology and science. And about 15 years ago, I found out that there are sensors that you can put on your head and connect your brain to the computer, which really fascinated me. And I like to research. I'm very curious. And I bought a few sensors, started to study this field. It's called brain-computer interface. It's really to connect your brain to the computer. And then I found out that there is something called neurofeedback, which is a training method that improves brain functionality. And from there, in 2015, I established Excellent Brain with a clear vision to make a difference in the domain of ADHD.
Interesting. So you jumped then from coding to the brain, which is a fairly big jump, right? From coding, because the brain is very, very complicated in how it works and its function. Are you self-taught in all of this, or how did you learn about the brain and all that here?
Well, actually, I'm what you call an autodidact. So I studied everything by myself, except
Wow.
for neurofeedback, which I went to the university and learned to be a practitioner and really to get to know this field in a more professional way. But I like to study. I study every day since I was a kid. I'm almost 53, so I studied a lot along my life, and what I'm interested in is especially science and technology. And then I found out about the brain, which is the most complex system known to man in the universe. One single brain has over 86 billion neurons with hundreds of trillions of connections between them. And it's a never-ending story. It's really there is a lot known about the brain, but I think there is more that is still unknown about the brain. And there is a big research going on for over 150 years about how the brain works, and we still have a lot to find out. But there are things that are already known. So, for example, on one hand, you have neurosurgeons that can perform a surgery on the brain and save people's lives. On the other hand, nobody knows even how one neuron completely works. So there is a dissonance
Wow.
there. There's a lot to learn more.
I imagine. So for those who don't know what your work is, how it's like broken down, can you teach us a little bit how like the brain works in that way?
So neurofeedback is a brain training method that relies on brainwave frequencies. So in the past over 100 years, scientists have found out that the brain radiates electromagnetic waves due to its electrochemical working. So, and when you put electrodes on the head, you can measure some of the electromagnetic waves, and then you can analyze them. And after many years of research, there are certain things that are very known. So, for example, in the field of ADHD, we know that most people who are diagnosed with ADHD, they have too little of, we call it low beta wave, which represent cognitive performance. And they have a little bit more of theta waves, which represent mind wandering and creativity and so on. So these people really have some tough time to comply, especially in school, with the other students, because they have a tough time to concentrate for that much, especially when it's boring stuff that in
Yes.
school. So you can train the brain to improve the functionality and to teach the brain how to get to the right frequency where you get cognitive performance. And this is amazing to see it because in 30 sessions that you do twice a week for 20 minutes, you can change someone's life because you teach his brain how to concentrate better, and the results, the behavioral results, are that he can, for example, now sit in class for longer, read more pages in a book, um, do a boring exam. And we must understand that ADHD comes to place when we have to do something that is boring for us. Because you can take someone with ADHD, put him on Fortnite or PlayStation 5, he can play for 10 hours in a row. He doesn't have any problem to concentrate there because he likes it. But then you take him to an exam in history, and it's hard to him for him even to read the question and concentrate because it's boring. So you have to teach them how to bring that concentration even when you don't really want to.
So you're having to like retrain them through like 30 sessions, that is what you're saying. How does that work for like training them to go from over here to here, for like their brain, like development and all that?
Exactly, that's a great question. So you take someone from point A to point B, how is
Yes.
it done? The trainee has to perform a training program. As I said, 30 sessions. And in each session, he sits in front of the computer and he puts a sensor, it's like a headband, on the forehead. This area is called the prefrontal cortex, and it has to do with the attention mechanisms and the executive functions and high stuff of the brain. And you have to sit in front of the computer with a sensor, and then the brain training is disguised like a very simple game. So, for example, you have a car on the screen and you have to concentrate, not using the mouse or the keyboard, your brain power. You concentrate and the car starts to drive. So, at the beginning, it's very exciting. It's like being a Jedi because you move something with your thoughts, and it's an amazing experience. And once you're out of focus, out of the zone, the car stops and you have to bring yourself back. And you do that for 20 minutes with different games. Each game looks different. There is a helicopter, a car, a person, whatever, but it's all the same. You have to concentrate to make something happen on the screen. And when you're out of focus, you suddenly see it and you bring yourself back. Once you repeat that enough times, you learn how to concentrate better because you really train that mechanism.
Curious, how does your game like know to do that? Because like you're focused, but your brain having to like sense all the different things, like your brain, right?
So we measure the brain waves from this area, the prefrontal cortex, that has to do with
Interesting.
concentration. And
Uh-huh.
when you are on the right brain frequency, it means you're focused, you're concentrated, you're using enough brain power. And when you're not focused. And then the car stops. So we analyze the brain
Right.
waves and we know when you are focused and when you are not focused, and we give you the feedback. And this is why it's called neurofeedback. It's feedback based on your neurons. And it's really very effective because it's in real time, and you learn about yourself because you see how it's like a window to your brain. You get a window to your brain and you see how it works, and you know when you're out of focus and you bring yourself back. And as I said, you repeat that enough time, and it's like training in the gym. You repeat something enough time, you get better in it.
So if someone does not have your program, then what? If they have like their own little setup from like their own house, how could they do this too if like they're bringing like training in that way?
So if you don't use neurofeedback, there are other methods, but usually they are less effective because you don't get the real-time feedback.
Right,
This
which
this
makes
what
sense.
makes it so short that in 15 weeks you can change your life. But of course, other things do it as well. So, for example, if you play chess a lot and you do that a lot, you will train your brain. You know, if you concentrate enough times and you repeat that, you will get better. But usually, it will take more work, more effort, and more time than using neurofeedback, which is one of the most effective ways to improve ADHD symptoms.
Are these people like fixed in a way? Because it takes like time to like have this like be like long term for their lives, right? To like last.
So the changes from the training program usually lasts for a few years. So it's a
Oh,
long
really?
term. Yeah, it's a long term, which means you don't have to do the training every day. You do the 15 weeks, you finish, and usually you can check yourself after 2 or 3 years to see if you had any degradation. But usually it lasts for a long time. And this is why it's like a present for life. It's really something that is worth the effort because you do a 15 weeks, put the work, bring yourself there, and you get amazing results. And it works on 80% of the population. So it means that out of 10 people, 8 of them will have improvements.
So, from your point of view, should someone not take meds then for this, or should they just do like this like program instead?
That's a very hard question because, first of all, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a doctor, and I cannot consult or tell someone if to
Fair
take
enough.
a
Fair
drug
enough.
treatment or not. I can tell you one thing about it, two things. One, there are people that the drug treatment saved their lives, and without that, they couldn't even go to school. But the second point is, out of the 100% of people that get the drug treatment, how many really need that, and how many can do something else to help themselves? And
Right.
that's a big question. There is no right answer on that, but you understand what I mean.
Plus, yours will like last longer, like a few years, whereas theirs like per like day having to take these
The
meds
big
here, right?
difference is that the drug treatment does not teach you how to concentrate. You always need
Right.
the drug to concentrate. You rely on it. So even 15 years later in college or university, you still need the drug treatment to be concentrated. In neurofeedback, it's a training program. You learn how to do it, and this is why it stays with you.
So you went from this company, the Excellent Brain, to like your new thing too, right? The
Well,
path
what you
to
talked about,
power.
the new thing is something else that I'm doing. I've been learning, practicing, expanding leadership for the past 25 years. And I've done some really intensive courses, and I did a lot of research about leadership, and it's something that I do from my heart, and I really love to do. And this is what Path to Power is. It's like um, moving it on, taking my knowledge that I learned about leadership and the changes it brought to my life and try to give it to others as a present. And this is something that I really do from my heart. It's something I love to do. Leadership, it's so important, and the world needs leadership.
So is that one more like mindset, like leadership, or like what is like that program like consist of there?
It's a program about leadership. It doesn't use any technologies or devices. It's a course that
Gotcha.
people do to really get themselves to their next level in life.
It's cool because you have like a different side because you have this very like tech heavy side to you, and then this like side over here, or more like human side for all these people. It's probably very different for you in that way, right?
For sure. I think that the human touch is the most important thing. And now we are in the era of AI, which I think is like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a wonderful technology that helps a lot of fields like medicine, biology, um, different stuff in science. But on the other hand, we can see that the effect on the regular people is immense. And it's really scary because you can see that kids today, They have a smartphone with the AI, and they don't need to learn or remember anything. They just have a question. They ask the AI, they have the answer. They don't need to understand it, remember it, or learn it. And I wonder where this is leading us in the future.
There's like both sides of that, right? Because you have like your brain tech, it's probably like helped you in your way, if like your tech in your company. But to your point, though, for all these kids, it's probably hurting them long term, right? So maybe it'd be like 10 years from now, it'd be like worse for them in that way, right?
I can give you another example that about technology, how it affects people's brain. So 20, 30 years ago, when we drove the road, we had to navigate and use maps and remember stuff by heart and ask people directions and so on. And today we have Waze, Google Maps, and different apps that navigate. And we got to a point where people don't even know how to get back from their supermarket to home without using the navigation. So the part of the brain that relies that has to do with navigation is shrinking because we don't use it. Now, if we take the same example and we put it on AI, if students will not learn and understand and really take information and analyze it and only use an external artificial brain, what what will happen to the human knowledge in the future? You understand me?
Yes, yes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we'll
Yeah, I'm
go
not
from that
neither,
point like
but it
10
looks
years from
scary.
now. So I want to now pivot because now you know a lot about trying to like lead people and help to like guide them in that way. Do you have tips for all of us on how to be able to do that in our own lives too?
Sure, I always have tips.
There we go.
So I'll give two of them, which are I think are very powerful and can really maybe help people that listen to the podcast take it home and do something with that. The first one is the distinction between motivation and discipline. So we all love motivation because when we are motivated, we have the drive and we do things. But motivation is like feelings. It's like the clouds. It's coming and going. So one day you're motivated, you're doing the work, and the next day you're not motivated and you're not doing anything. So the path to performance and success is discipline. And discipline means that you are going to do what you said, even if you don't feel like it. And this is how you get results in life. It's by disciplining yourself, and it's not easy. Everybody likes their comfort zone where you feel cozy and all right, but
Yeah,
you don't get performance there. So I think that's one very important distinction. Don't rely on motivation. It's nice, but there is no results there. The results are in discipline.
right.
And the other distinction I want to talk about, it's really coming from the leadership that I'm working on, is called integrity. And I want to explain what it means for me in the context of leadership. So integrity means honoring your word. And that means that you will not always be able to keep your word, but you can always honor it. And honoring your word means taking full responsibility about what you said, promised, and so on, even to yourself, not only to others. And I want to bring people from the place where they think that integrity is something nice to have, to understand that integrity is a basic law in life that has to do with performance. It's a must have. And integrity, it's like a mountain without a top. No one has 100% integrity. Every one of us on this planet has its next level. And which means that anyone should do the work on honoring their word. Don't promise anything you cannot do. Um, Even for yourself, when you say something to yourself, it's highly important because then when you go to sleep at night, you know exactly what promises you made and you didn't keep. And this has to do with how much powerful you feel in life and in the performance that you have in life. And so I want to leave this point in a sentence that I want people to check it. Nothing works without integrity. And if this is correct, it means that integrity is a very important thing in life. And it does not come from a place of good and bad. You can be without integrity. It's your choice in life. You can choose whatever you want. But if you want performance and power and you want things to work on your integrity. And I think that this is one of the basic stuff that I teach in leadership.
How does one do that though? Because you have people like promise that they're going to the gym like daily for the next year, and then they don't do that. How do you keep like your promises to like yourself in that way?
So I think it really starts with the work of checking yourself and the words that you are giving to the world and to yourself. And if you understand that you're giving to yourself big promises that you cannot keep, first of all, try to make them maybe smaller. Okay. So, for example, if you want to run a marathon, it will not happen within a month. Something that you have to work on it. I don't know how much time, but usually it takes time until you get in shape and you can run a marathon, right? So build, build yourself steps that you can do and make it. And it's highly important that you really keep your word. So don't promise anything that you know that you're not going to keep. And if you already promised something, and you know you're not going to do it, you have to clear the mess that you did. You have to re-promise. You have to do something with it and not just said, I changed my mind. There is no power there. This leaves you without power and really reduces the power of your word. And people, they don't really know that simple facts about life, that nothing works without integrity. So if you go and check in your life the things that are not working, you will find out 100% of the time that someone in this place that is not working is not in integrity. Someone is not honoring and keeping their words. And it's all over our lives. And any one of us has to do the work to get to the next level and the next level. And it's a never ending work.
Yeah. I want to now pivot. If someone wants to be like you, how could they do it? Because you study all the time. You take risks like your own company. How does one do that like in their own life here?
So first of all, everyone is unique. So no one can be like me and no one can be like
Right.
you. We
Fair
are
enough.
unique.
Fair.
But I think as an entrepreneur, um, all entrepreneurs, they have a lot of challenges, many walls to go over, and it's not easy at all. So the basic stuff is really to believe in yourself, to give the best effort, to be excellent, and to never give up. Because when you're working on something that you believe in and you have a great idea, you should never give up. And it takes a long time to reach success. When you see someone who is succeeding, usually, almost always, he has like 10 or 20 years behind it until he reached this point. So you have to have resilience. You have to do the work. You have to believe yourself, never give up, and keep on going. No matter where you are, you can do better. That's for sure. Everyone.
Right. I wanted to also bring up what things are bad for our brains to do from your point of view.
I think TikTok, social media, all this
Fair
stuff.
enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Well, and there is a big distinction I want to bring here because a lot of people think that WhatsApp and social media and our smartphones, they gave us ADHD. So it's not true. ADHD is a disorder, and people with ADHD, they really have problem with attention. But we can also see, and this is a distinction, that there is a decline in the attention levels of all humans that use smartphone and technology because it really affects our brain. And there is already a lot of research about it. So, for example, Instagram and TikTok and all the short movies that you scroll, there is a clear research that really this hurts your brain and hurts your cognitive performance, and we all do it because it's designed in that way to pull you inside, and suddenly you find yourself for 3 hours on TikTok. But
Yes.
this is something that I really suggest people to be in control over it, because it really affects your brain and your performance.
Right. Well, you have been fantastic. I'm curious what your last thoughts would be to the audience here.
Be excellent, always give your best, believe in yourself, and always look where is your next level, how you can get better. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be 10 or 80, you have your next level.
Exactly. If people want to find you online, where can they go to?
Sure. So I invite everyone to visit our website. It's www.excellent-brain.com. They can read about neurofeedback, see videos and information, and they can also contact me directly.
Well, guys, go find them. Thank you all for being here and tuning in. Until next time, stay hungry.